July the 22nd was a very significant day in Bangladesh cricket, especially for the Bangladesh women's cricket. Today was the day when the third ODI of the three-match ODI series between Bangladesh women and the Indian women was held at Mirpur Sher-e-Bangla National Stadium. This was the decider in order to get the final say. I mean, what else could we have expected? Either it would have been an India win or a Bangladesh win. The series would have tilted to either of the sides, but ultimately the match ended in a very dramatic tie. Interestingly for Bangladesh, this was one of the highest totals that they scored against India batting first. Bangladesh won the toss, elected to bat first, scored 225, which is a very competitive total in Mirpur, and India, in the second ODI, made a similar sort of target which Bangladesh failed to reach and in the end miserably collapsed in their batting. But the third match was exceptional for a lot of other reasons as well. First of all, if you look into the Bangladesh batting innings, it was Farzana Haq Pinky, the one who has a century in T20Is for Bangladesh. She became the first woman to score an ODI century as well, and that was an exceptional innings of 106 from 160 balls, literally played the entirety of the 50 overs. She was the mainstay of the batting, and initially she was batting at a strike rate of around 50, but later on she pumped up the strike rate, scored her century, took Bangladesh to a formidable total of 225, which at one point seemed an easy target for India because they started well, but gradually in the end, especially after the 40th over, India started to lose some wickets, and in the end, it was a final over drama that led to India getting all out for 225, and ultimately the match was tied. And due to the lack of time, the super over wasn't played, and both sides had to concede the series at one apiece. So the trophy was basically shared. After losing the T20 series to India by 2 matches to one, Bangladesh women managed to get this trophy alongside India with a one-all draw in this three-match series, with the third match being tied. And this is actually the first match that any sort of senior Bangladesh team, be it men's or women's, have tied. And this was an exceptional game in terms of keeping their nerves. At some point, it was very easy for India to get those runs off when Jemima was batting, uh, and Harleen Diol was in very good touch. She played a good knock as well. But there were a few controversies which actually sprouted within the game, especially from the Indian captain Harmanpreet Kaur, especially after she got out. She was adjudged out by the umpire. In both calls, it seemed like she was out by looking at various replays. If the ball hit her glove or bat, she was already out, caught at the slips. And if it wasn't the case, then she would have been LBW anyway. So she was very much disappointed with that decision from umpire Tanvir, and ultimately enraged, she actually went on and hit the stumps with her bat, and that disturbed the furniture a little bit. She had a few strong words for the umpire as well as she went off. And after the game, especially when Bangladesh got the last wicket, Marufa, she got Meghna Singh caught behind. Bangladesh were elated, they were in jubilation, they were celebrating. And later on, when the India team came to shake hands, Harmanpreet Kaur, the Indian captain, she was very much in another mood, I must say. She was behaving kind of in a sarcastic way with the umpire in the first place, and then with the Bangladeshi players after they shook hands. Both teams were supposed to stand behind the winners banner with the trophy in the middle to commemorate this one-all series tie between the two sides. It was a very hard-fought tournament, very hard-fought series, but ultimately what happened there was something a bit weird as well, which Nigar Sultana Jyoti, the Bangladesh captain, later on did not want to talk about in her press conference. She basically said, we don't want to talk about things that was unofficially told, but she did not like the way India reacted, and especially what Harmanpreet Kaur told to her and her team, which is why she actually took her team out of the photo frame, and the India team went the other side. So it wasn't a very nice and peaceful ending to the series. There was a bit of bad taste, especially after the match and even during the post-match presentation. India's captain Harmanpreet came up and said a few things which usually we don't find players talking about very directly, very blatantly. She spoke about the umpiring issue, She basically mentioned that they were very surprised and disappointed at a few decisions that the umpires gave, which they did not deem as fair. And she even went on to mention that the next time they prepare to come to Bangladesh to play against them, they would be mindful of the fact that this is the quality of the umpiring and they'll be preparing themselves accordingly. I don't know what that actually means, but she was a bit enraged at the heat of the moment, I must say, and maybe later on there will be some actions taken against her, especially her physical actions that she did after she got out, and then later on, the way she talked about the umpires and blatantly blamed the umpires for the game. I think there would be some kind of a fine for that. There's supposed to be some rules that will get her fined. But in the end, although the series ended in a bad taste a bit, with some level of animosity between the two sides, some bitter words shared between the two sides. Ultimately, it was a strong statement from the Bangladesh women.